to get us started here. Good evening. We will begin. Just want to let everybody know that board members are regular citizens of Holland who have volunteered and have been appointed by City Council to consider applications to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Housing Board of Appeals, Construction Board of Appeals, and accommodations for persons with disabilities. This board must interpret each application as it relates to city ordinances. The board is not empowered to rezone or to take any action that could be considered rezoning. The agenda is in the order of the applications received. When your application is called, we ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and address. We will hear the applicant first, then anyone supporting the application, followed by anyone opposing it. After a public hearing is closed, there will be no other opportunity for further public comment related to the application. Decisions of the board are final and effective on the day of the decision. Applicants may appeal decisions to circuit court in accordance with state law. The decisions will be made public tomorrow morning, and you can contact the Community and Neighborhood Services Department tomorrow morning if you do not wish to stay for our deliberations. These are streamed online live, recorded, and are available to be viewed on the city's YouTube channel. And with that, we'll go with our first agenda item.
All right, the first item is for 297 West 22nd Street, application number 21.13Z. Randy Van Kloppenberg is requesting permission to reconstruct a fire-damaged two-family home and a variance to add another bedroom to the rental property he owns at 297 West 22nd Street. The Board of Appeals can approve these requests if certain conditions are met. 39-35, 39-38, and 39-285.
Thank you, and I understand. If you would please, we'd love to have you come up and describe your application, and I believe we'll have a few questions for you as well.
Put your name and address.
Please.
So where I live, correct? Not the address.
Correct.
Randy Van Klumberg, 201 Outlook Drive, Douglas, Michigan. Basically, I'm here today because I had an electrical fire at 297 East 22nd Street, and according to the ordinance, if the house is damaged more than 50%, and the lot is too small to rebuild a two-family. So I'm asking tonight to be able to rebuild the two-family. The cost to do that, even though it's 50%, fell within what makes sense for us to try to rebuild it than tear it down. So we weighed those two options of do we tear it down. And then of course with today's cost of building a single family home there just does not make any sense right now. The value of the home would just really exceed the value in the neighborhood. So then the second thing I'm asking for, because the upstairs apartment, even though it was one bedroom, it was almost like a studio apartment. It was very small, so not very functional. And as you can see on the picture, it really wouldn't even change the look of the house just to carry that higher roof line right on. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Just to basically, because the fire not only burned the attic above the kitchen, so in the back of this house is the kitchen. Yep, and all that has to come off. That's gone. And then also the wall, if you can point to where that window is up there, Dan, that whole wall has to come out also. That's gone. So, I mean, from outside it doesn't look terrible, but when you go inside, and when I met the contractor, he said all this wall has to come out. So,
Are you taking the foundation out also in the back?
No, I don't think we'll take the foundation, and I'm glad you asked that, because coming here, I've done this before in some of my other rental houses, because if I'm going to rebuild this does have the old stone foundation, and I guess I was going to ask that question: do I need permission if I get permission to rebuild it, and I get permission to put the second bedroom? I may consider lifting the house and putting just a new foundation basement in, because the old stone, after a while they start getting loose and crumbling.
You're putting more load on it.
Correct. You would be
Potentially putting more load on it.
Correct. Yes. So that is something that I would definitely consider doing, because basically we're going to gut the whole house and start over. All new electrical, all new plumbing. We're going to take it right down to the studs. So it just seemed that with the struggle with low-income housing, that this was a great opportunity just to expand it and make the upstairs apartment a little more livable than what it was. So, but that is something that I didn't think about till after I applied to this, of should I have gotten some had someone go and look at the foundation and figure out, what's down there. Now, I do think the back section was added on at one time, and that is not as old as the front of the house. So, but, yeah, it would have been a good idea, maybe if I would have thought of that, too.
It doesn't apply really to this meeting, it's more.
Okay.
We can clear the hurdles and then.
Okay.
Talk
Talk to Dan.
with Dan and
Okay.
please screw upstairs.
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan. I think cosmetically it would look good. I don't think it would really change the look of the house drastically, just to bring that straight across. And like I said, it would just make the upstairs much more livable.
Gotcha.
So it sounds like you're over the 50%, because you're gutting it all the way out and doing,
Yeah, yes, it is.
by far, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
and to be honest with you, I mean, his cost came in actually a little lower than I thought, because, I'm in the construction business also, and electrical contracting, but in tune with what cost is, and I honestly thought it was gonna be closer to 200,000, but they came in at about 175 to rebuild the whole thing,
Sure.
so. And that made sense, so.
So it's really all about the non-complying, in the lot, even if, as it was, as a two-family, before the fire.
Exactly,
they're
yeah.
non-compliant.
And I know you just lowered that with some of the new ordinance that you passed. You've just brought that to even smaller. And Jan, do you have how much I'm off?
Actually, they last night approved the ordinance, but they went back to the old dimensions.
Oh,
So you would have to have 9,600 square feet for a two-family. That means you're 3,000 square feet short.
okay.
Okay. And so that's really the big question here.
It is, definitely.
It's how how the board, looks at all these things. It's just based on how the code's written, so.
Right. And I mean, if you look at where the house is positioned on the lot, you can see there's plenty of parking in the back. It would just be a two-bedroom lower and a two-bedroom upper, so I really don't think it causes any issues for parking or anything like that, so.
Yeah, the issue with the non-compliance is that the city's trying to get everything in compliance.
Right.
In a perfect world, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right.
How that comes about, that remains to be seen, and I think that's why it's written here, that they could slowly chip away at the non-compliant. So the question is there any reason why it couldn't be a single family in the end?
I think for us, as an investment, that's what this is for us. It's an investment. I don't think the return on the cost would make sense for what I would get for the house. And basically, I would have to go back to the contractor and say, okay, well, does it make sense to try to take this structure and make it into a single family, or are we starting over?
Right.
And then in that case, I would really look at, if you're gonna stick that much money into the house, then I almost think you gotta get rid of that stone foundation. So I just think the way we looked at it is the cost to
Sure.
tear it down and start all over. And I'm guessing a house of that size is gonna cost you, I don't know, I was getting some of the square footage prices, and I think it was over 300,000 to build that house.
The numbers these days are outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous, so it absolutely made no sense for me
Right.
to do, and to rent it.
Outside of the financial side.
Right.
You could build a single family home there.
Right, because if I built a single-family home and I had 300,000 into it, I mean, even though the insurance is paying part of it, you still have to look at it as investment. I would have to get $3,500 to $4,000 a month to make that pay.
Right.
So it just doesn't pay. So
Gotcha.
if we can basically get back to what we had, making the upstairs a little more livable, for us as investors, that makes the most sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
That was my question.
Oh,
Yeah, that was my question, is why the home can't be used as a single-family home. It's difficult for us to look at, the investment side of the thing. We're trying to just look at, what's best for the neighborhood, what's best for the city, and that type of thing, and how we can get the conformity into the neighborhood.
And I guess my question to you, I understand you have standard for square footage, but when something's existing, I guess what's the board's opinion of why a two-family should not be allowed on a lot like this when it looks like there's plenty of parking? I mean, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like, I see some of these houses, like I have a lot of college houses, and you see these people buy these houses and put bedrooms in the basement, and they got parking for 2 cars, and, now they're parking all over the place, and, whenever I've done my college houses, I always make sure if I'm gonna put in 6 bedrooms, I have parking for 6 cars. And that always kind of got me. It's like, if you want to stop the chaos, just say, if you're going to add 4 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, you should have enough parking for that many cars, not just a 2 driveway car parking. So I guess my question back to you is, I understand the ordinance says you got to have this many square feet, but I just wonder, since it's existing, what hardship or what, why does the city look at this as something that should not apply?
Yeah, the only issue is they're even right in the write-up, it says that they, to not extend the duration of the
Okay,
let's see, non-conforming structure and or non-conforming use which is damaged or destroyed, hopefully this is the right one, let me help you.
It is, keep going.
Okay, keep going. Okay, that is damaged by fire, flood, wind, other calamity, or neglect, and deterioration by 50% or greater of assessed value at the time of destruction, or request for a building permit may be restored if the zoning finds the following conditions. Then it goes down to the conditions. It says restoration of the structure will not substantially extend the probable duration of the non-conformity. That's really what I wanted to read before I kind of got off the wrong paragraph there, but that's the criteria.
right.
So, I don't have any more questions.
Any other
myself.
questions?
No, that was just what I was hung up on as well, is that the nature of the restoration that's gonna have to happen with this.
Right.
It seems like it would be extending the duration of the nonconformity, so that's what I'm hung up on right now.
Okay.
So when you say extending, you're
Extending
using
the life,
extent of life, so you're saying by extending it, you're allowing it again?
correct.
Okay,
That's my interpretation.
okay.
Yep.
You're extending the life
Just
of
so
the
I understand.
non-conforming
Right,
structure.
right.
But we only look at it when it's triggered by more than 50% of the
That's my
assessed
understanding, yes.
value. I mean, you
Which it
could
has been,
replace the
right?
roof, and that would theoretically extend it, but that's not gonna be over 50% of the assessed
Right.
value.
Right.
Right.
We have a nonconformity here. We have something that doesn't fit into the footprint today. And by putting more value into it, we're taking that and we're gonna extend it to some period of time
Right.
that may be longer than what's feasible.
Yep,
So the other question that we have to answer, so it's all black and white. Here's this and here's this. We just ask the questions.
right, no, I get
kind
it,
of
yeah.
interpret them, so
Yep,
just
yep.
hang with us.
Nope.
So the other question that we have to answer is, circumstances are such that the land previously occupied by the non-conforming structure and/or use cannot reasonably meet the criteria of that zone district. So what it's saying is the land could meet the intended zone district requirements by being a single family.
Right,
So
right,
I know you understand. I just have to.
Yeah.
I just have
Yep.
to say it out loud.
Yep.
'Cause this is the 2 criteria that are that we're looking at for the request for the first part of the variance.
right.
And as I understand, and the chairman can correct me, we need to get past this one before we get to the second one
Okay,
about adding on
Right.
to it.
okay,
So,
That's correct. We're taking these, we're taking the 2 issues separately.
right.
Any other questions? Brad?
looks like he's got that inquisitive.
Yeah, I could smell.
Looks like he's gonna wind
I
up.
smell
He's
it.
gonna ask a
Chugga,
question. We're hearing the
chugga,
gears
chugga.
turning over there, but.
So just to clarify, you're staying within the same footprint as the plan,
Yes,
and you're restoring, remodeling, not tearing down, building on.
no, not tearing down.
Okay.
The only thing that really, the most demo that will be done is that back wall that is burnt.
No, you're tearing down the first section and then the next
I,
wall.
I don't think they're gonna tear that down, no, I think they're
Oh,
gonna
I'm sorry,
take,
I misinterpreted.
I think they're gonna take the roof off, the roof joist will all come off.
Oh, okay.
And then once they get that off, most of that back upper wall is gonna, cause that's all burnt.
Okay.
This
So-
one or this one?
Both that one. So I think above that back door, they'll go off, and then once they get that off, I think they'll take everything from that bottom wall to the peak of the house off also. All of that, yeah,
It's one of
all
them
of that. will-
slippery slopes when you start opening it.
Yes, all of that will come off. So no, the footprint will not change at all. The only thing that, like I said, depending on what your decision today, I will probably take a harder look at that foundation and decide, you know, do I want to stick this much money on top of an old stone foundation? And that, I don't know, is that something that I would just go to Dan to? I mean, that's not
Yeah,
something
once we
that-
clear
Right,
whatever we do here, yeah, you gotta go to the building guys.
okay,
And I'm sure there's gonna have to be engineered drawings and all
Yep.
that. Even if you keep it, there's gonna have to be somebody that says, yes, you can put a second story in.
right,
You
okay,
have the live load of the second story,
yep.
and you're still carrying the dead load of the
So
roof.
if you give me the permission to do it, I would just need to prove to Dan that it can be done, okay?
And one more question being, so deterioration of by 50% or greater of assessed value on this property for 2021 is 62,800, so 31,000. Not that we're trying to house people in bare bones places. And I've walked around the property, but not going inside, like, it's a total loss back there.
Well, no, and that's
Well,
the,
I guess what I'm getting at is,
that's kind of the funny
could you
part of
go-
this, because if you walk in the front door, you don't see any damage until you get to that back kitchen.
Okay.
But you bring up a great point, because I guess my disadvantage today is the cost of building. I mean, you know, how far off would I be over 50% if it wasn't for the cost of building today?
Well, I mean, 50% is only $30,000 to work with.
Right,
I guess my question, and I don't know if it's a fair question or not, but is there a way to repair the bare minimum and actually make it livable so they can continue? I'm just.
yeah, that's a
out
good
loud,
question.
Kind of.
I guess, yeah, that's a good question.
Well, and the other thing to be aware of
I was gonna
is
just make a
next,
comment about that too.
next month, that number will double. Next month, it'll be 50% of the true cash value. So that means now, instead of being half of the SEV, which puts it at 30, he'll be half of the true cash value, which is probably closer to 100 and, well, do you have an appraisal on it at all?
I don't, no.
It's obviously probably 250,000
I would think so, yeah.
in value. Half of that, 125,000.
Is it a true
Right.
cash value or is it market value?
Let me check.
If the assessed value is 60, the true cash value is 120.
The only comment I have, and it's just a comment, once you get into those systems, they're gonna want you to update everything. I mean, you're not just fixing electrical in the back, you're
No,
fixing
no,
everything.
trust
You're
me,
doing-
I-
You're doing the
and-
whole
and
nine, you
Dan-
know that, you're a plumber.
Yeah, Dan's known me long enough that.
Yeah, you know that.
When I get in these things, it's all new. I start all over.
Yeah.
I
Right,
do.
and that's another
Just
question.
wanna
is
make
this-
the comment when
Yeah.
we're talking like piecing stuff together, you
No,
ain't
it's-
piecing a whole lot together here. I
No,
mean,
Well, the other
structure.
thing to pay attention to is you're probably talking the entire project is 125, right, or 175, right?
Yes, the total project, so
Right,
that's,
so not even the damaged portion. If you only stuck to just the damaged portion, which I know that there's little, bits of connections
Right.
between the other stuff. So we're kind of looking at the whole house project versus the damage repair, because
Right.
that's really what we're talking about.
yeah, and that's true, and, it was in the State Farm's hand of how they qualified it, you know what I mean? In other words, I didn't tell them, I want you to gut the whole house, I want the money to gut the whole house. They're the ones that decided, okay, we looked at it, we had someone come look at it, and we want to gut it out. So that was technically their choice to do that. Now, how they base that, I don't know, but that's just told me this is what we're gonna do and this is what it's gonna cost.
Right, but the number we're talking about is, and under the current ordinance is 50% of the assessed value, which is 50% of the damage, is the
Right.
damage 50%, not your whole project?
Right.
'Cause-
Well,
And that's a good question, because, how would you classify, I mean, I'm getting punished by all new carpet, all new, you know what I mean? So basically, if what you're saying is what would it technically cost just to redo that upper roof and all that, that very possibly could be less than 50% of
And
the
I
cost.
understand that's not the standard you probably hold your investment properties to. I have investment properties also. I'm just looking at this as, with only 30,000 to work with, is there a way to keep it a multifamily in this, as a non-conforming use, as opposed to go over that dollar amount, lose the non-conforming use and only be able to use a single-family residence there.
Right. Well, I could do the electrical for free. That would save $20,000 at least, maybe even 30.
Okay.
Didn't we say
I think I called
30?
you a plumber earlier, I'm sorry about that.
And we could paint it, so there's another 15. So we're there.
Well, I don't, we could talk, we could break down the costs, but I think we all agree, you're gonna be north, just to restore it, you're gonna be north of the 31,400.
Right.
Okay. Definitely not the 175 that you've got, quoted to do all the work that you're gonna do, but you're likely to be north of 31,000. It's probably not even close to the 175, but all the work that you're going to put into it, which is excellent, but.
Money goes fast.
Oh, yeah,
every-
especially today.
You can't touch anything for $30,000.
No.
You can't touch you can barely do a bathroom for
Bathroom,
30.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question for Ron, if you've got a minute over there.
I think they're talking about total cash or.
I just have a question, maybe it's a Dan question, but I'm throwing it that way. In the event that the board acts on this and denies it, and then the new rules come in, and it sounds like the new rules would change that value, that threshold, can he return and go for it again? You know what I'm fishing here for?
Dan and I were just talking about that, and he was looking up what the rules will be under the new ordinance.
Okay.
We think the threshold, instead of being 50% of assessed value, which here would be 31,000, would about double.
It's actually 100% of the SEV, which I think, Brad, you came up with 63?
Ooh, 60's not much.
Right.
Wait,
So
is that SCV or taxable?
SE,
They're
that's
the
SE.
same on this
Oh, they are,
property.
yeah, of course.
Right, so what we're saying is if he could repair it to the bare minimum, if the damage is less than $60,000, he does not need permission from the board to rebuild it.
To rebuild it as a non-conforming structure.
Correct.
Correct.
So the threshold just doubles in August, when the new ordinance takes effect.
So what are you doing, just so I understand this clearly?
We're trying to give you an out, but it's not working.
That's why I
is
had
what's
Bill
going
Sickle
on.
here all the other times, because,
We're trying to help, but it's
yeah,
not working.
yeah.
So currently, you can do about 25%, or you can do 50% of the SEV,
Right.
which is gonna put you about $30,000, what that means is the amount of damage that you have in that house, to just bring it back to bare minimum, you're allowed to go up to 30% before you have to be before the board and get this approval. 30,000.
50%,
Sorry.
30,000.
30,000. Next month, that number changes to what the SEV actually is, which is 63,000. So if you could repair this to a point,
You get approval on it.
yep, of
Just occupy.
$60,000 of, if you damage is assessed at, you could repair it for $60,000, just the damage. We're not
Just
talking
the
about,
damage, not
we're not talking about
replacing
new
the car-
carpeting, new paint,
Okay.
new stripping, all the things that you're doing inside. Then you would be allowed to do it without getting approval from this board.
Okay. I would just come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's not going to allow you to do anything expanded at all.
Right, that's a separate issue.
That's correct.
Right.
So maybe potentially that we just run this up the flagpole the way it is, and then option B is to reassess it next month. Or as soon as this ordinance goes into effect, which is 21 days.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you know for sure it's going into effect.
Yes, they approved it last night.
So couldn't you just,
Why wait? Because these are not,
I appreciate, we had this conversation.
see, sometimes inspector will say approved upon this, so I
No,
thought
we
maybe,
just had this conversation about what we act on, and it's whatever's in play
Oh.
that day we act on.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you couldn't get your plans into Dan
Right.
ahead of time, and then he issues the permit August 13 or whatever, or August 12th,
So-
Right, yeah, well,
if it meets the new ordinance.
right. If it meets the new ordinance, you don't need anything from this board.
okay. So what you're saying is if I can go to Dan and prove that I am under the 50% just to repair it, the fact that I want to improve my home, like put a better basement in, put this in, doesn't fall under that? Because all you're looking at what it costs to fix the damage.
correct, because you had a fire.
So you're not going to stop me, okay, you're not going to stop me from saying, you know what, I want to make it even nicer. And that's not, you're
Yeah,
gonna,
he's got, that's like two budgets there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to a certain point. I mean, they are talking about restoration of the structure.
right,
You still have to remember, this is not a permitted structure, I say structure, and I really mean the use.
Non-conforming use.
You know, the use. You get those back and forth. It's a two-family house, but it's not the house that's in violation,
It's the.
even though it kind of is, because it doesn't meet the setback requirements. It's the actual use of it as a two-family in a lot, with a lot that's substandard.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so last,
But let me just say this before we go any farther. I don't want that to skew the board's, the application that's in front of the board right now.
understood.
It just helps us understand, with it changing, it helps us understand what's going on now.
Right, is there any advantage, I say advantage, is there any reason to table it till next month? Does that do anything for us, or do we just act on it?
I don't think that, I think you'd almost have to make new application. Ron, maybe you can help me with this, because when you apply under one ordinance, I don't think that carries over into a brand-new ordinance,
Okay,
I think,
we're fishing.
especially when the language changes.
if you're going to you're going to decide it based on the ordinance in effect when you make the decision. That would be the rule. And so with the amended ordinance, if you tabled it to next month, you'd decide it next month. So if your restoration budget is 70,000, next month, you'd still need approval. Okay,
Oh,
but
right.
if your restoration budget is, what did we say,
60?
63? If you're 62,000 for restoration, then you don't need this board's approval, so
Withdraw.
you can withdraw.
Okay.
So it depends on, you could have them table it, and then you could get your budget together, and then decide whether you even need them to act on it.
Yeah, I get, well,
I
but
might have
then,
mucked it all up, I apologize.
no, you know what?
Didn't mean to
It's,
do that.
it's probably something that I, going through this, I'm just black and white, like, this is what it costs, and I like the idea of like, hey, 50% of what's damaged, not the other improvements, because, why would you stop someone from wanting to improve their house beyond the damage if they're willing to do it? So I think that's a great way to look at it. How would we handle the other request of carrying that roof line through?
That would be a variance, a dimensional variance.
Yeah, it's chicken and egg now.
Well, he would still have to come for that
Yeah.
dimensional variance.
Yeah, well, that's application is before you. He's asking for that relief
Mhm.
now. And so you could decide that now and table the other request. You could,
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, I just asked the
Yeah.
question. I didn't mean to muddy up the water
No.
there.
but that would be, that's a request that he's made to you, is to have a variance to be able to expand the house.
So we could look at the second request separately?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course, it doesn't do him any good until he can get a
Right.
budget that fits the threshold.
I thought we had to decide affirmatively on the first before we could look at the second.
Right.
And now my understanding is we can act on that, but
Well, that would be nice, that way, if the first one is triggered for a green light, then I know what I can or can't do moving forward, so. And I gotta believe, if we're looking at $63,000 just to repair the damaged part of it, I truly believe I can probably fall within that. Probably the biggest cost, that will make it tough is the kitchen, which is back there. I probably can't save the kitchen cabinets if I'm gonna be honest about what's damaged.
Right.
Kitchen, like you said, you can hardly do a kitchen for $30,000, so. But technically, it's not critically damaged, it's just, dirty and wet, so.
Randy, I'm sorry, when did the fire occur?
Oh, gosh, how long ago was it? Yeah, it was cold. Yeah, we were both.
because we were standing out
April,
there
yeah,
while they were putting it out.
I think April. I think it happened in April. And the
April.
insurance company's just taken,
Okay.
just forever to get this going.
And then, how fast were you going to be moving? Is a 1 month delay significant, or are we,
No,
At this point,
No.
right?
at
Not
this
really.
point, okay.
yeah. I would love not to have to come back to just, if you can make a decision now, and that way, if Dan and I can
I'd
come
like
to an
to-
agreement, then I know what I can or can't
I'd
do.
like to ask the chairman a question, or make a statement. I think probably what we do is we just decide on the first, and then decide on the second, even if the first is not an affirmative decision, because either way, he's gotta come back. Our decision on the first one will be null and void if he can come back and be under $63,000.
Well, if he's under 63, he doesn't have to come back.
Right, well, that's the
Right.
point.
Right.
Yeah, my point is, our decision on the first one is not gonna impact his ability to try and meet this,
To apply,
the
yeah.
criteria.
Okay.
And he'll know if he's at 70,000 or 80,000, you know you can't come back for the first question because you didn't make it on tonight, so.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking is, since we're here and we're talking about it, I mean, like I said, if I go to Dan and I can show him an estimate of under 63,000, then I don't have to come back and
Right.
ask for permission to do this.
Correct,
to
yes.
carry- I
That's
would
what I'm
rather-
saying, we can
I'd
make the
rather-
decision now.
Right.
When tomorrow you come back or whatever, and
Right.
you show them.
Right, then I know,
You're all,
like,
you're all
then I'm
set.
good to go,
What we
right,
said doesn't matter.
right, yeah. I mean, I don't know what
Unless
harm
the
it does to
attorney
this.
says something different over
Right,
there.
That's
right,
right.
right. So,
I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions regarding either of the issues? I mean, are there any questions? Because we're gonna have one public hearing for both of these.
I don't think it hurts anything.
Right. Well, I
My understanding, I don't think it
I understand.
hurts him or,
Right, but I'm just making sure nobody else has any more questions.
okay.
Because then I'm gonna go through the process of the public hearing if we could,
Yep.
so. Anything else?
nope, I think that's it.
No, again, we appreciate you coming in and explaining it, and
Well, and
We
I
all learn.
appreciate your effort of trying to make it work,
absolutely.
so.
All right, well then, at this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody who wishes to speak in support of this application. Please come to the podium. Why not?
Hello.
And again, your name and address, please.
Jennifer Doyle, 312 West 22nd.
Okay.
So, living in the neighborhood, it's nice to have mixed housing styles. There isn't a parking issue. It's not a crowded neighborhood. All of these things, like, I get that you want people to be standard, totally understandable, but you have something that already exists. They're asking just to put it back. So, definitely in support of that. Secondary, carrying that roof line over, giving 2 people homes that are comfortable. Like, we have a huge housing shortage. I don't see why this is like, it's not a new property. Is this really the time to get really like detailed? And I know that's your job, so probably yes. But I don't see a problem. It already existed. It would exist today had it not been for a casualty.
Tragedy.
It seems like it worked before. Why would it not work now? There are no issues in the neighborhood that would, in my opinion, prevent them from doing this. People need houses. People need houses that are not, $4,000 a month in rent. Like, that is an absurd amount. No one needs a gigantic home. You need smaller houses, multiple people living in one space. That's what's needed right now. That's all.
Thank you very much for your time and coming in, expressing that. All right, and anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
Did somebody go up, there's some people waiting outside. You want to open the door up for the crowd?
No, that's in the past, man.
Oh, it was yesterday.
That was last night. And not seeing any, I will close the public hearing and look for deliberations or potentially a motion, hopefully, from our board.
I think we have to have a motion first, a motion and a second, then we can go into discussion.
Sorry, motion first. Any other questions from our board first? Or discussions, and then a motion?
From the discussion standpoint, I think we kicked it pretty hard here. I mean, I don't,
Yep.
unless somebody's unclear about the discussion we previously had, I think I'm personally good with
Making a
the questions.
motion?
And, yeah, that's not a problem. And the questions and the answers that were received, so. I'd like make a motion to deny, because, it is extending the duration of a non-conforming, situation that's there. And the lot could be used for the, intended zone district, which would be single family. Don't
And
necessarily like it,
support.
but that's what it says, so.
And we have a motion, we have support. Now we have the deliberation. Brad supported. Go ahead.
No, I agree that, the home, as a single-family home, would fit better into the neighborhood that's there. And we talk about the budgets and the different things. Really comes down to what's best for the zoning that we have today, which would be a single-family home.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's what the zoning says, and we're following the zoning, and,
That's what we're constrained to.
yep, we're constrained to
enforce.
this, yeah.
Right.
Whether we
The other
like
thing
that
is,
or
we
not.
make decisions like this, then it opens up Pandora's box, and there's precedent, and all the non-conforming people are gonna be in here knocking on our door saying the same thing. So there is a reason for it, and we're just charged to follow those rules.
And I think we did come up with ideas
Best we
and
could.
ways to work around
Yeah.
where
best we
we're at
could.
today as well.
Best we
There
could.
are other options.
Ron, do you have what you need?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
And are we, I hear you guys talking down there, are we able to look at this next one?
Yeah, it's sort of a, tricky thing, because without the first one, we can't really do anything with variance.
Oh, that's right.
But we think after another couple weeks, he's gonna be able to do something within what's allowed, so then the variance would be applicable. So I think it's good to go forward with the variance.
Well, the variance would still exist if he were to show that it would be, if he were to show hypothetically that the restoration of the damaged section would be $20,000. Okay, less than half of, meeting the standard today. So we could still proceed with the variance.
Right, but it is still a variance. So
Correct.
we're going under the idea that he can meet that first section about non-conforming uses with less than 50% or
Correct.
100% of the SEV.
Right.
So we're thinking he's gonna comply with that. So now the question is he gonna be allowed to expand a non-conforming structure and use?
Correct. We're
And
just
lo-
saving him a
and
trip
large.
back.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's take a roll call, if we could, please, on the first part related to the non-conforming use. If we could, please.
Yes, so the motion is to deny Bedard,
Yes.
Fusak,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Sorek.
Yes.
Motion to deny passes.
Okay. Now, we will discuss, or I'll look for a motion on the variance to add another bedroom over the rear of the home of 297 West 22nd.
I'd make a motion to deny. It's a non-conforming situation, and you could put a single-family home on this smaller lot, a lot that's deemed too small for a two-family home. And as much as, I think that's, let me see my other criteria here.
On the second page, John.
Yeah, I see that, yep. Although you didn't create the situation, we understand that. Will the strict compliance with the size of the lot or other dimensional requirements unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for its permitted use? No, the permitted use is a single family in that size lot. Is the requested variance minimum necessary to do substantial justice to the applicant as well as others in the district? And it's non-conforming. I don't believe that I want to make sure I say that right. Hold on. Is the requested variance the minimum necessary to do substantial justice to the district, to the applicant, as well as other properties owners in the district?
Can we do something that
Yeah, we
grants relief that's less than what he's
No.
requesting? No.
And then, will the requested variance cause a negative impact to the surrounding property owners, property values, and use or property enjoyment in the neighborhood? I'm gonna go with potential yes. I'm gonna say yes. Just because of potential impact, if you're non-conforming and your square footage of your lot is not big enough, and you're potentially adding another car, that within that district, you potentially could be adding more burden to the surrounding neighborhood. And maybe I'm off base there, but
I support your motion to deny, and it is one to deny, all to approve, and even if the last one that John spoke about, will the requested variance cause a negative impact on surrounding property values, or the use and enjoyment of property in the neighborhood, I would say no, it wouldn't. But however, we still have the others that were in the deny column, the two other no's.
so we needed to have 5 affirmative to pass. 1 negative. Deny.
I think I do need to add, though,
Go ahead.
you breezed through kind of quickly saying no to the question of the applicant creating the need for the variance.
Oh, it's creating the need, you're right. It is.
Right, I think
I
that
was
since
thinking
it's
in
a
my head the
design,
fire, so.
since it's a design choice that he's wanting to expand on the house,
Yeah.
I would say that is
A yes.
an applicant creating the need for the variance.
I appreciate you helped me clarify that, because I was thinking in my head the fire, and I wasn't thinking about the request to add another room. So I would like to amend my,
Friendly amendment to your motion and
My,
facts of, your findings of
please, I
fact.
do appreciate that, thank
It's
you.
not, it's not a change in your motion, it's just a change in the findings of fact.
Correct, thank you.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
All right, sorry for the confusion there, Ron.
Any other discussion on this? Then we'll take a roll call vote for this, please.
All right, the motion is to deny. Bedard,
Yes,
Fusak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Sorek.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. And now the approval of our minutes from last month.
I make a motion that we approve our minutes.
Support?
Okay.
I'm here, so I'm gonna-
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes,
Thank you.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? None, and the minutes are approved. Now we go on to our next item, which is the election of officers for chair and vice chair.
Congratulations, Dan.
And the,
To make it official, I'd like to nominate Mr. Dan Stork to
Yeah, I think we gotta go through the motions here,
let's.
Yeah,
with
let's do it.
nominations
Sorry.
and seconds and voting and the whole thing.
Sure, let's,
Okay.
we can go through that, but I just had one quick question, if we could. What is the term? Is this an 8-year term, 4-year term?
Good question, Chair.
2-week term?
1 year with 8 automatic renewals? No, so it's a 1-year term.
It's a 1-year term,
You elect
okay.
new
I was gonna say, it
officers
came up
every
again
year.
pretty quick. I was gonna say.
Yes, it does. So is it like July to July, pretty much?
Right,
Okay.
right. July is the meeting set for electing officers.
Okay, now, are we gonna do one nomination for chair, one separate nomination and a vote for vice chair?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
but it doesn't have to be one. You could have 2 or 3 people nominated, or 5.
Good,
Good. Highly unlikely.
all right. so
I make a motion that we keep Dan as our chair for the next term.
All right,
Is there a second?
I second that.
all right, the motion has been made and supported. Are there any other nominations?
Squeak, 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 squeak.
That cricket
Let this
doesn't
be a
count?
vote of confidence
Yes,
for you,
support.
Dan, that we.
All right
we-
then, so we will
we
vote.
do
Do I,
admire you
do I
in this
abstain from
position.
voting
I
on
should've got
this?
my
We
phone
do,
and got cricket.
we don't all consider this to be something that we're
President
we're
be
just
nominated for
throwing
chair.
you under the bus or
Vice
something.
chair. I understand.
We are confident that you can do this job, and we are confident that the next year will, under your leadership, will go smoothly.
Thank you.
Sounds like a vice chair to me.
It does, it sounds like a vice chair.
Can the
But I don't-
backup people be
I don't.
vice
think-
chairs?
No, I don't think
I
you
didn't
can.
think so.
Oh, that's right.
So he could
So did
sound
we
like a
vote?
vice chair all he wants,
That's right.
safely. So we'll
All right,
take a
moving
vote
on.
on the nomination for chair. Go ahead.
All right, Bedard,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Fusak,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right.
Although
Now we're looking for
although I
nominations
started to
for-
do the motion, officially, I didn't do the motion.
That's okay. And the nomination for vice chair, any nominations out there?
Do you think Fred would be upset if we nominated him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna nominate Dave then, because you did say you were very comfortable with moving ahead with the way things were. And the way things are is chair and vice chair, so I'll
Support.
nominate Dave.
I second that.
And we got a support. And seeing no other discussion or any other nominations, we're gonna move right to a vote.
All right. Sounds good. Give me 1 second. All right. Fusak,
Yes.
Bedard,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Sorick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. And our next meeting date is Thursday, August 22nd. And we're looking for one more motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Dan.